Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us today for the Small Business Development Workshop, Making Employee Benefits Beneficial. The Duluth Chamber is super grateful to be able to provide this offering free of charge to our chamber members because of the generosity of our sponsor, Lake Superior College. LSC has been instrumental in allowing us to continue to bring these educational sessions to our members in 22 and years before that. So we're really happy for them and their support in helping our members grow their business. I have the absolute pleasure today of introducing to you two speakers. For today, we have Patrick Heffernan and Hannah Stevens, both with Wheeler Associates. Pat is a partner and an employee benefits director of Wheeler, and Hannah is their group services director. So we're looking forward to learning from each of these pros, looking at your benefits from two perspectives. We'll be looking at from the employer's perspective on how to build a benefits package, and then from the employee's perspective, understanding those benefits and how to make them work for you and your personal life and your family. So without further ado, Pat and Hannah, please go ahead and take it away. Thanks so much for being here.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. It's our pleasure to be here and with the folks on Zoom, some familiar faces there, or names, I should say, but great to be together. And it's our privilege, and we're looking forward to presenting with you today. I would also like to thank Lake Superior College, because I know that all these events that are hopefully valuable to you today, and I know others are to us on other days, don't come without the sponsorship. So thanks to Lake Superior College. So yeah, Wheeler Associates, my colleague Hannah is going to be taking kind of the second half of the presentation. As you see, there we are there. If you can't recognize us on the Zoom, there's our pictures. Looks like I have a different shirt on than in that picture, but trust me, it's me. And then I'll just quickly go over Wheeler Associates and our team. I want to go to the next slide. Kind of the what we do. There's the team. We have a new member, Neil Larson, who's joined us since that photo. So we have a new photo that should be coming soon, but there's our awesome team, which is really the best part of what we do. We are a family business. We're in our 88th year, proudly in Duluth, Minnesota, right in downtown Duluth. Our office is in the Medical Arts building there, and we have a wonderful deck overlooking the bay, which we love to enjoy, the great view of our awesome city. So what we do, sometimes in our business, it can be kind of confusing, different types of insurance. Some companies do some, others do not. Kind of break it down into four areas. Individual wealth management and financial planning. We have a certified financial planner, Andy Wheeler, who I'm sure many of you know. Individual insurance, life, disability, long-term care insurance. Our colleague Emma specializes in that side of it. So that's working with individuals and families for the most part. And then qualified retirement plans. Some of our team members work with that. So 401ks and the retirement plan offered through the employer will be that. And then today's topic, last but hopefully not least, employee benefits. Our awesome colleagues, there's Hannah and our colleague Chelsea and Charlie. We all focus on that side of our business. So that's the benefits offered to employees by an employer through the company. That's just a quick blurb on what we do and a little bit about Wheeler. Today's agenda, Chris did an awesome job. Thank you for introing that. Kind of covered this already, but just to review, we are going to kind of look at the benefits from the employer's perspective, building a benefits package and some considerations. And then we'll also go over from the employee's perspective. So whether you're an employer or an employee who receives benefits from a company, there'll be hopefully some things to think about and some ideas. And so we'll look forward to covering those. Questions, I think, like we said, love questions. Please ask them. They always enhance any kind of a presentation. So if you're thinking of one, throw it up there. And then in the end, we will go over those questions at the end when Hannah is done presenting. Just a quick disclaimer, the bottom, kind of funny to put in those terms, but truly benefits are, the benefit package for a company really depends on that company's specific needs. Case by case scenario, no two companies are alike and their needs are different. So it is important to think of it that way. And then as well, the benefits that you choose and your own situation are specific to you. So we're going to be giving you some bigger picture things to think about, but just remember that in the end, those questions come down to the company and or the individual. And on that note, employee benefit overall considerations. So we'll kind of get into this side of it first. Just a few things we talk about as a team and have observed as we work with the awesome companies we work with. First one is the thought that a benefit is not a benefit unless it is understood. And you could put used on there, but there are certainly some benefits that you hope you don't use, but you have, and they're very important, and it's important to understand those. But think about that from both the employer and the employee perspective. The example I use on that is if you have a car, new cars, certainly in the last few years, they have some amazing features. And if you never, ever utilize those features, they truly are not a benefit to you. They exist, but they are not a benefit. So in the same line of thinking with employee benefits, if they aren't understood, they really aren't a benefit. Second and third bullet points are really, really important. We spend a lot of time with our wonderful employer groups and their employees. We do not learn about employee benefits in school. So we come into this job, and I remember my very first job. I worked for the Carlson companies in the Twin Cities a long time ago, I'm afraid. But I remember sitting down to the very type of meetings that we do now for companies and being completely confused and overwhelmed. And I was, I've been through college and learned some things. We don't learn this stuff. So please, we hope that people get that feeling and weight off of their own shoulders. The third bullet kind of captures that same thought. We get so many questions, almost always, when someone asks a question and in group settings when we're doing presentations to groups, this is probably a dumb question, but, and so our thought is if everyone thinks these questions are dumb and everyone thinks everyone else understands it, it's kind of telling. And actually, it's very confusing. These things change. You can be given very complex choices to make, especially with health insurance. So get that off your shoulders. We're going to give you some ideas and ways to navigate that and get clarity and get some understanding for your own situation and or your company's situation. All right, just a few other considerations. Companies spend a lot of their resources on employee benefits, and they are massively important to employees. I think most all employee benefits fall into that category of they're not important until they're important. We're going to talk about life insurance, a little bit about employer-provided life insurance, disability, health insurance can be incredibly important benefits to an employee and or surviving beneficiaries. So it's a very big part. We hear from most companies that it is second to the payroll cost, employee benefits. So massively important and a lot of resources being spent on that. This is interesting. We heard this in a presentation recently, but they're studying people's understanding of their benefits, and then they would tie it to their perception of the quality of the benefits, meaning, do I have a rich benefit package or not as rich? And interestingly enough, as it says there, the biggest indicator of that, whether an employee felt they had good benefits, was simply that they understood the benefits. So it actually wasn't tied to, you have a lower deductible, you have greater benefits provided to your employer. The more the understanding was there, that the more that the employee feels that they have good benefits. So again, education is key. This is also interesting. Just one more on that slide. Another research source that we tap into pointed out to kind of track when do people know their benefits the most. And by far it is on their onboarding process. So they come on, it's brand new. They hopefully have a good process with someone at the company to understand their benefits, on board, make decisions. What am I going to enroll? Am I going to enroll? What am I going to enroll in? And then it goes downhill. And the reason why this can be kind of haunting is hopefully, most companies really want to retain their awesome team members for a really long time. So if you're thinking of a longer term employee person on the plan or in the company, and they perhaps onboarded 7 years ago or longer than that, that means that their understanding of the benefits was the greatest understanding of their benefits was quite some time ago. So just some considerations there as you think about educating and understanding your own benefits. All right, now I'm ready. Okay, from the employer perspective, things to think about as you're building a benefits package for the team. Next slide, please. This is absolutely essential. Find good partners. We are considered brokers, so we have a lot of roles, but at the core of it, we go to the marketplace and find good fits for the companies that we work with, the insurance companies. We work in this area all day, every day, and there is truly legislation that affects things coming through nearly every day. So it is very, very important to have a partner that can help you navigate that. And I'll tell you, we have partners that we tap into and resources that we tap into to help us stay on it, even though it's what we do all day, every day. So very important to connect with a good partner who can help navigate that. Another wonderful benefit of this partnership would be an advocate for your team. Help with claims issues, questions, and then the next slide there, education. That's a huge part of what we do. I think we kind of look at it as several years ago, the key role that a broker performed was simply going to the marketplace, and that's really what broker means, finding the insurance plan. And that's important, and that is the last slide we put there. But these other items really speak to the partnership that is there, and we love to forge these partnerships with the employees and the groups that we work with. We do annual enrollment meetings, which can be wonderful, and at those we love to hear from people. I had some questions last year, I really didn't understand it, and Hannah, my colleague, or my other colleagues helped with understanding that, or helped with a complex claims situation. So really important and a key element to it in finding a good partner to help navigate that. And then, of course, the core benefit of going to the marketplace and finding the right insurance companies. And they're wonderful partners too. We'll get into a little more. They offer some things that sometimes are underappreciated as well. So good partners. All right, create an overall strategy. It's interesting, oftentimes when we engage with a new company that we haven't worked, one of the first questions we ask is, how did you arrive at the benefits package that you have? And oftentimes the answer can be something along the lines of, well, it's just kind of what we have. And, perhaps there's been turnover in the role that helps select those. And so people don't really know how they ended up with what they have. And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with the employee benefits package that they have, but it is important to think of it as a strategy. Why do we have what we have? Do we need the benefits that we have? Should we restructure those? So a good assessment of the overall needs of the organization is very important. Of course, for all business decisions, certainly more and more in this day and age, the cost of the benefits and the affordability to the employees is massively important too. So that's a huge consideration. And then finally, I alluded to this already, but help the employees' understanding of their benefits. Again, it's a huge cost, resource expenditure to the employer that they want to provide, and they want to take care of their employees. And it's important to help them understand that. So kind of that three-pronged strategy to assess what is there, if anything, unless you're starting from scratch, and then designing that plan based on those three elements. Benefit communication. Mentioned this already, and you can tell it is massively important. Tactical onboarding strategy. You truly only get that one chance to make the first impression with a new hire. So it's very important to be tactical and creative and just help provide resources. And we've all started jobs and gone through onboarding processes, and that's a stressful time. Everything's new. There's a lot of information being thrown at you. So it's important to help those people make good decisions and understand what their options are, and elect probably some choices in there, elect good things, plans that work for themselves and or their family if they have that. Third one might be a little bit surprising to see the word fun with insurance, but we truly try to make open enrollment fun. So you have that opportunity on an annual basis to kind of reset, maybe pick different plans, and we really try to engage with that. That also is a stressful time, especially if there's plan choices. Understandably, people get overwhelmed with that. So we really try to, again, get the weight off the shoulder of the complexity and the thought that I'm the only one who doesn't understand this, and provide resources and help people make good decisions. And then just ongoing education. The open enrollment and leave it strategy really is not one that we think works very well because people, in 12 months, they will forget a lot of things, especially if they haven't tapped into the various plans. So it's important to have ongoing education. That can be done in a lot of different ways, from in-person meetings to recorded videos to, hanging up things in break rooms, emails, all kinds of different ways to help with that ongoing kind of drip of information as you go along. All right, the actual benefits, just some things to consider. Certainly, as I mentioned, every company is different, but just some benefits to consider from the employer perspective. All right, the big one, health insurance, certainly is by far the one that gets the most attention, and understandably so. Very important. First off, in the not too many years going back, the options have changed significantly for different size companies. Again, we probably have folks on this from very small companies to very large companies. Very large companies typically have had a lot of different choices with how the benefits or the health insurance can be structured. But in recent years, some of those options have come to much smaller companies. So it's important just to know of those options, consider them. Again, in your strategy, think about whether you want to implement those, or maybe just get more education on those this year, and then the next year take a look at it more seriously. Employer funding, as we're all aware of, this is a very competitive labor market. Nearly every company that we hear from is struggling to find employees. So it's very important. Employees, understandably, are holding up their benefits package next to prospective employers and looking at that. So it's very important to consider that. So we are seeing companies providing greater benefits and lower cost to the employees as they are trying to become an employer of choice. So that's certainly a trend we've seen, and certainly so in the real last few months, and I'd say it's probably 12 to 18 months as the labor market has really become competitive. And finally, just a comment, emergence of health savings accounts. They have been around for a while now. I would venture to guess most people on this call either have access to or as an option a health savings account and or have one, have selected that. They're awesome tools, and they allow you to build up funds in an account that you can use for out-of-pocket healthcare costs, and wonderful tools. And we've seen a real emergence of that over the last several years to most companies, as I said, either offering just health savings account compatible insurance or it as an option if you have several plan options. All right, I will turn it over to Hannah.
Excellent, thanks, Pat. Now we are going to talk about some of the non-health insurance benefits, or ancillary benefits we call them, that employers should consider next to a health insurance plan. So health insurance is usually the primary focus when you're putting together a benefits package, but these are also benefits that should be considered in your planning and execution. First of all, long-term and short-term disability insurance are two very important benefits to consider when you're developing this benefits package. Long-term and short-term disability are only important if you need a paycheck. So thinking about that from an employer's perspective, if your employee is unable to work due to illness, injury, accident, or if they're unable to work for a period of time because they're going out on maternity leave, this benefit is often overlooked, but it actually provides a portion of employees' paychecks that they can get for a long duration of time. Short-term disability usually pays for roughly 12 weeks. Long-term disability can pay up to Social Security normal retirement age. So something to definitely consider, because you want to think about the impact of the employee if they're unable to earn a paycheck due to some unforeseen circumstance. In addition, life insurance is one of those base benefits we talk about often. You never want to think about having to use life insurance. It's horrible to think about, quite frankly, but it's really vital for the beneficiaries in your life, so spouses, kids, who could utilize some of those funds to pay for funeral expenses, other bills, just everyday expenses. So certainly something that we don't want to think about, but really vital to have in a benefits package. Dental insurance is a benefit that's often requested by employees because you pay a minimum premium to at least get your preventive care covered for yourself and your dependents as well. So dental insurance kind of next on that list of important benefits to consider. Dental insurance definitely has a wide range of carriers, wide variety of partners, and something to consider when you're putting together your benefits package. In addition, flex benefits have been making headway in the employee benefits space. So flex benefits allow your employees to set aside pre-tax dollars to pay for qualified medical, dental, vision expenses for not just themselves, but also any dependents that they may have. You must have heard the term FSA before, flexible spending account. That is a benefit that allows you to set up to $2,850 this year. That's the maximum of pre-tax dollars to pay for medical, dental, vision expenses. The one thing for it with an FSA is if you don't use it, you may lose the funds or only be able to carry over some of the funds to the following year, but it also is a huge tax savings. So definitely something to consider. Also, dependent care FSA. Dependent care FSA takes care of any type of daycare needs you may have or an elderly care if you're caring for an elderly family member. You can set aside up to $5,000 as a couple if you are paying for daycare. And again, those funds are pre-tax. So you're receiving the tax savings in paying for those benefits or the care that you likely would anyway. Pat did touch on health savings accounts. They are definitely an emerging benefit that we've talked to a lot of our employers about because with an HSA, you can set aside pre-tax dollars to use for medical expenses and those funds roll from year to year. So it's not a use it or lose it fund. There's additional benefits like parking perks, so setting aside dollars for employees if they have to pay for parking, and also education support. If employees are paying back student loans, some of those benefits are out there and available for you. We typically work with partners on this. Wheeler Associates does not directly administer these benefits, but we certainly partner our clients with entities that do. Voluntary benefits have become a growing trend, and offering a menu of benefits that employees can choose from are of great value to employees because they see that, okay, I can make these selections as well as have the employer-funded benefits. Some of those supplemental plans include life insurance. So if they need additional life insurance to cover expenses for their beneficiary above and beyond what's supported by the employer, it's a great option. Vision insurance, so paying for materials, exams can get very costly. So adding a vision insurance package can be helpful. Accident insurance, paying you a check if you and your dependents were in an accident and you have to receive care. And critical illness pays a benefit if you were to undergo a critical illness. Now, both of those pay outside of health insurance. Very, very valuable in the event that something unforeseen happens. And the premiums are relatively inexpensive as well. So if you have a big life event, it's nice to know that you would have these other benefits to help cover the costs in those situations. Other emerging benefits we're seeing in the field, so to speak, legal insurance, so supporting any type of legal needs, pet insurance, that's a big one we actually get a lot of questions about, and ID theft protection, so protecting your well-being, your information. That's another benefit that employers have asked about very readily in the last few years. There are other benefits built into these policies that are often overlooked. We call them value-added benefits, and they are typically free with your employer-funded package through the different insurance partners Pat was referencing earlier. The biggest being an employee assistance program. You would have a built-in program that would allow employees to connect with a counselor, a resource if they're going through a hard time financially. It can do with work. It doesn't have to do with work. It can do with family life. If they need any type of support or assistance, A lot of times carriers will provide this benefit for free, so something to certainly look into. In addition, travel insurance is often provided by insurance carriers. Travel insurance can help you by providing a resource if you're traveling usually over 100 miles from your home. So let's say you lost an ID, or you need to update a passport, or you need to get access to closest U.S. embassy. Travel assistance can help you with that. In addition, a lot of times health insurance carriers, even dental insurance carriers, will provide assistance in claims processing. When you are going through a claim, it can be very challenging emotionally, physically, depending on what the claim is. To have someone there to help you navigate that is crucial. Now we're going to discuss how employees can best understand the benefit options they have at their disposal. First, we like to recommend employees take a benefit inventory. So know the plans that you have available to you, and that can just be a simple question to your employer. Typically, as Pat mentioned, when you are onboarded or first eligible, you'll get that benefit packet that overviews all of the benefits that are available to you, either employer paid or voluntary, through your place of work. So we're going to highlight some of those benefits and some of the things you could ask as an employee. And there are many more things to cover and consider, but these are some of the basics that we think will help you navigate your benefits package with your employer. So for example, health insurance. Do you know what you're paying out of pocket before the health plan kicks in and starts covering those services? Understanding that cost as it relates not only to you, but to family members as well. So it's not just the premiums you're paying per paycheck, although they are important to know. It's also, what's the worst case scenario? What could I be paying out of pocket with this particular plan if I have a lot of medical expenses throughout the year? Also, understanding your network is key. Some health insurance plans have a broad, wide open access network. Some have a very narrow network where you can only see select providers. If you happen to go to a provider that's out of network, you can potentially pay a lot more in medical bills than you would otherwise seeing a practitioner in your network. We talk a lot about how to be a good consumer of health. So what does that mean? It means knowing what level of care is going to essentially be the most convenient and cost efficient for you. For example, a lot of health insurance carriers give you access to virtual visits. Certainly in 2020, it was something that all of the carriers provided. But when you or a dependent has, for example, a pink eye or an earache or a sore throat, you can oftentimes make a virtual visit either through your insurance carrier provider or your hospital without having to step foot in the office, which could be more costly. So virtual visit will cost you less than an office visit. Your primary care visit, certainly less than the urgent care or ER, but if you have to utilize those services, obviously do so, but just know what the cost could potentially be for you in those situations. Long-term disability, as I talked about before, this is paycheck insurance. Know if you have it. Do you have enough of it? Is it going to be enough to support you in your income in the event of a loss? Life insurance, do you have it? Do you have coverage? Is it going to meet the needs for you and your family? And should you potentially look at supplementing your coverage through an employer or on your own? Oftentimes, employers will offer voluntary life insurance on top of the employer-funded life coverage, but they may not. So you may need to seek other resources if you need additional life coverage. Voluntary benefits, certainly something to consider with your own situation. I talked about accident insurance earlier. If you have a very active family, or if you as a human are active, considering maybe paying $7 a month to have additional accident insurance, where you would get payment for any accident you received in addition to your medical care, could be something you want to look into as an employee. Utilizing employee resources. Use those education resources from your employer and ask if they have a broker partner. Oftentimes, employees don't know if they have other resources they can tap into. We at Wheeler Associates do pride ourselves on being very proactive that way. It's important that our teams and our partners know that we're there to help. But benefits can be and are overwhelming. So just know that, and know that you have resources there to help you if your employer does offer a benefits package. It's important that you attend meetings if they're available to you. And we often see benefit counselors meeting with employees one-on-one. Take advantage of that as well, as they're there to help you. They're not there to sell more insurance. That is something that is often a concern for employees. So they're truly there to help you make good decisions for yourself and your family. If you know that you don't have a benefit available through your company, don't hesitate to ask about it. You can bring up the question, why don't we have short-term disability, or do you think we could look into this? And if your employer is responsive, they will certainly, tell you yes or no and the reasons why, but ask the question. And become engaged in your company's benefits. Try to learn as much as you can, because it's truly an asset and a form of protection for you. Oftentimes, we help employees compare what they may have for benefits available to them compared to what their partner or spouse's plan could be, even another prospective job. So the hard part is the devil's in the details, right? You don't know what you don't know about the other benefits that are available to you. So we definitely help navigate that scenario for employees, and your employer can help you with that as well. You certainly want to see what's the best health plan for me. Is it my plan or is it my partner's plan? And how does that look for myself and my family? So you do need to know the elements of the plan to accurately compare, and we help with that quite a bit. Many simply just look at cost because that's, the biggest factor, right? That's what's coming out of your paycheck, but there's much more than that to consider. Also think of how benefits can complement an overall personal and financial situation. Is there a need for additional coverage? Is that a question you should be asking your employer or seeking external resources for? All right, that wraps up the presentation, and we would be happy to answer any questions you have. So feel free to unmute yourself, ask those questions, or put them in the chat. And Chris, I'm not seeing any questions pop up on my end. Are you? No?
No, I haven't received any so far, so please do ask questions. I was going to ask about comparing spousal benefits to your benefits, so you've already answered that. Thank you.
Oh, good. Great.
It's really complicated.
Yeah.
And as Hannah said, the devil is truly in the details. Sometimes, understandably, people can come to it and say, I think my plan is better. And they're simply looking at the out-of-pocket cost. It may have less cost, but way higher exposure, deductible, out-of-pocket maximum thing, just for example. So truly, it really is important to take a deep look.
Nice. And that's something that you at Wheeler can kind of help navigate for your clients is looking at those comparable plans for employees.
Yeah, definitely. And oftentimes that comparison happens during your initial enrollment. So when you're first eligible, and throughout the year during your annual enrollment, if anything changes with your company plan or your partner's company plan, it's good to look at both of them to consider what you'd like to do for the upcoming year. Okay, so we do have a question, and the question is, are you an insurance company? So first of all, thank you for that question. And if you are asking if Wheeler Associates is an insurance company, the answer is we are not. We are a broker. So think of us as the middle person between yourself and your insurance company. So we seek out insurance companies because we are independent. We work with a lot of them that meets your needs and that of your employer as well. So no, we are not an insurance company. We help partner you with insurance companies and other resources. Okay, we have another question, and Pat, I will have you take this one. Do you partner with PEOs?
Yeah, good question. PEO are kind of a conglomerate of companies, and they offer benefits cumulatively. And we don't see a lot of that, but it's certainly something we're seeing more of. But we have talked to a lot of different PEOs, and sometimes that can be a fit for companies. It's just we have not seen a lot of that with today, I guess I'd say.
Great question.
Do you have any tips for, let's say, a very small business owner, like 1 or 2 or 3 employees, super micro business? Do you have any tips or kind of a starting point where you start to steer them into a benefits package that works for their very small business?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. The first thing that we want to do is have a discussion. What are your goals? What are you looking to obtain? Are you looking to grow or are you looking to stay small? And then we can help find good fits for you as an individual and the company. And then also talk about how, adding health insurance could be helpful in a group space, or perhaps exploring an individual health insurance option may be a better fit for you, or getting some life insurance, maybe either on an individual basis or a group basis. So initially we'd say, let's have the conversation. Let's see what you're looking for, and then we can point you in the right direction of what's available. Okay, another question. Do you have any data on employer funding of health insurance policies, percents that employer pays of monthly premium for small businesses? Pat, do you want to take this one?
I do. Yeah, very good question. So kind of understanding what kind of our companies doing in general or averages. And that's interesting. I will just point to 2 trends, and there's a wealth of information. The Kaiser Family Foundation does some amazing work in this. KFF.org is their website. We tap into it all the time. I will give kind of a local, and I should mention we work with companies, and of course in the Duluth Superior area, up to the Iron Range, down in the Twin Cities, and over into the St. Cloud area. So a couple trends I have seen, and that is companies putting more of a stress on their employer dollars going towards the employee's coverage. So trying to really cover that as an employee benefit. And I have seen, as cost of everything has gone up, we have seen less contributions to the dependents if people have them. So a common perspective, again, every employer is different, but a perspective would be, we want to provide the employee as much as we possibly can, and they may or may not have a partner, spouse, and or children on the plan, but we want to provide it as much as we can for that. Now, that being said, in this job market, we certainly have seen employers dial up the dependent coverage as well. So that's kind of maybe made a bit of a comeback, and just employers covering more in general of the cost, whether it's just for the employee or the person. But those are just a couple trends we've seen.
Mm-hmm. And again, the minimum contribution as an employer in the state of Minnesota, if you are offering coverage, is 50% of your employee premiums to be funded by the employer.
Was that 50, Hannah? 50?
50.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's a requirement for small groups, which is under 50 employees in the state of Minnesota.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hey, Christina, I can certainly connect you to Hannah or Pat after this, if that is helpful.
Awesome.
Perfect. Any other questions before we close out? I'm not seeing any. Well, excellent. Thank you both so much for joining us. Everyone, I'm glad you were able to spend some time this afternoon learning about benefits. If you have questions, I'm happy to follow up with Hannah or Pat's contact information. This session was recorded, so I will distribute that as well if you wanted to go back and review or send this to a colleague or what have you. So there are resources available for you to learn more should that become a need. Thank you again to Lake Superior College for sponsoring the small business development workshops. And Pat, Hannah, I'm glad you joined us. Thank you so much. And I hope everyone has
Hey,
a great
Chris.
afternoon.
Sorry, I just saw a chat come through.
Yeah.
I want to reiterate that Kaiser website. I hope I have it right, but I believe it is K as in Kaiser, F as in Frank, F as in Frank.org.
KFF.org.
Or you could search, yeah, FF, yep, Frank. And
Perfect.
thank you, Chris, and your team at the Chamber. We greatly appreciate you guys, and it's just a pleasure to be here with you, and thanks everyone for attending.
Wonderful. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.